Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Sim Racing Online SRO AC Legends GTC60s Championship. That's a little bit of a mouthful. Today we are at Bremgarten in Switzerland, which is quite something considering this circuit has not hosted a real-life motor racing event since 1955. So we are very, very lucky to have this circuit on Assetto Corsa, which is the sim racing platform that we're using, because we could not do this in the real world of motorsports. We're here in qualifying, just watching some opening laps being set. My name is Caitlin Penny. You may have heard my dulcet tones last race 2 weeks ago at Bannock Brae in Scotland. That was quite a race event. It was a little bit chaotic, quite a few accidents, definitely many more than at round one at Reims, and it has messed up the standings just a little bit. We'll go through that in due time. I'm hoping that the reason we haven't seen the leaderboard yet is because nobody has actually set any lap times. I do have the timing tower on, so I'm sure that will come up as it goes along. Here's Kimi Martikainen sliding his way around in that Alpha 33 Corsa Stradale, number 34, so just missing out on greatness having a 33 Stradale numbered as number 33. I will say, please do let me know how I sound. As always, it's difficult for me to test whether or not you're going to be able to hear me properly. It's something that I kind of have to trust is just going to work itself out. So I hope you can let me know that you can hear me okay, and I hope, of course, that you can hear me okay, because otherwise I've done all of this for nothing. So obviously we did have a race 2 weeks ago at Bannock Brae. That was won in quite fantastic fashion by Tony Talviti. In fact, in both of the races that we've had so far this season, they have been won courtesy of Grand Chelems, which means pole position, fastest lap, leading every lap of the race, and then of course winning the race overall. However, it's been done by two different drivers, funnily enough. Of course, at the first round in Reims, it was won by Maddie Shepherd, driving a Chevrolet Corvette. And then at round 2 at Bannock Brae, it was won by Tony Talviti, driving one of these Alfa Romeo 33 Corsa Stradales. Shepherd still leads the championship by 6 points over Tony Talviti, who is second, and then it's Julian Paus third in the standings, in fact equal on points to Tony Talviti. Laurent Lons is fourth in the standings, Matthias Estrella is fifth, and then it's Kai Sivertsen, Michael Mazurek, John van der Geest, Stefan Lagodin, and Kirill Kirilov, as we see a spin for Kimi Martikainen. Let's go through the order a bit more and see who else we can find. Here's Mark Johnson, who has just joined us actually for this round of the championship. He was not here at the last round, and as you can see, he has selected a Jaguar E-Type Lightweight. This is the joint oldest car in this mod, the GTC Legends mod, having come out in 1963. And let's see if we can move that a little bit. Sorry, I noticed the broadcast, or the live timing, going slightly off the screen there. Not exactly ideal. Oh no, now I've lost the actual standings. Sorry, I will get this sorted out very, very shortly. I know it looks a little bit weird on the stream right now, but if I put it about, come on. Okay, I'm getting there. Okay, that'll have to do for now. So let's take a look at some of the cars that are available in this race. As you can see, Matthias Estrella is currently at the top of the times. It's a very long lap here, 2:19.850. I've just noticed in the YouTube chat, Roman Labro, thank you for letting me know that my audio is all good. That's very important. Can we have a little bit more onboard camera, please? Yes, indeed we can. I'm just trying to get it so that you can see. It looks like Matthias Estrella doesn't have a steering wheel. That's a bit strange. I guess we'll just have to, well, let's see if we can get it Okay, we'll watch it from this camera view just so that it doesn't look too awkward. But yeah, Matheus Estrella currently P1, 2:19.850. That, I believe, is actually faster than the real-life lap record, which was set in 1936 by the great Rudolf Caracciola in a pre-war Grand Prix car. There were, of course, Formula One races here, held in the early 1950s, the last of which being held in 1956. But of course, they couldn't quite match the might in those early Formula One machines, which were basically just Formula 2 and voiturette style machines. They couldn't quite match the might of the pre-war auto unions and Mercedes and the like. But these cars, of course, have more grip, more control than they would have done in those Grand Prix cars, and as a result we're expecting the all-time lap record, race lap record, to fall today, which would be quite something. The Bremgarten circuit, it's actually quite tricky to work out where we are on the track, because it's mostly just sweepers. There aren't that many straights, and there aren't that many slow corners, and there aren't really that many landmarks, so I imagine it's probably quite difficult for the drivers to work out exactly where they are on the track. That's the pit lane on the right, so Estrella's coming through to complete another lap. What does he do? And where's the timing line, more to the point? I believe that he did not improve on that particular lap, but that's okay, because he is still first in this session. Here is Julian Paus, who proved to be one of the most popular drivers last time out in Bannockbrae. A lot of people in the YouTube chat were supporting Julian Paus, and he has a Bizzarini 5300 GT, which is the most powerful car in the race, and has theoretically the highest top speed. Really impressive car. Actually, technically not the most powerful, that would be the Chevrolet Corvette, but this car has the theoretical highest top speed, and is also, a little bit of a bash off the wall there. Also a little bit of a brute. It's the heaviest car in the field, and it makes up for that with its sheer power and mid-range acceleration. Up to third place now goes Jari Lakkinen in another Bizzarini. They're looking very strong here today. Definitely look out for the Bizzarinis. And funnily enough, this car has Swiss flag decals on it, on the side and on the rear. Very fitting, considering where we're racing today here in Bremgarten. Kirill Kirillov appears to be the top. Well, he's running there in fourth position. He's the top non-Bizzarini car so far, nearly a second off the leader. He has a Ferrari, specifically, let me get my notes up. Specifically, this is the Ferrari 275 GTB from 1965, and that will also be driven by Paul Upham, who is in fifth position, and here we see Paul. Phil Brown is currently in sixth place in an AC Cobra, a few seconds off the leader so far, but you sometimes get that with the longer circuits. It's tricky to keep up with the leaders overall. I am quite interested though in the fact that we're currently not seeing our two championship leaders, our two race winners so far. Maddie Shepherd in her Corvette is only 9th position in the order, and I don't see Tony Talviti at all. I'm not sure if he's even here today, as Philip Pichler completes his first lap. That looks like an outlap, considering he is only 3 minutes in total. Let's see if we can catch up to the drivers in the pit lane. Is Tony Talviti even here? I'm not actually sure. I can actually cheat and check the leaderboard quickly. This is the in-game leaderboard, which you're getting a little sneaky look at. But it does not show me. Well, it doesn't show me enough cars to work out who's actually in the session. But yes, I don't see Tony Talviti here yet today, so we'll have to wait and see if he does show up, or if he is unfortunately not racing in today's action. Michal Mazurek completes a lap. He is P11 as it stands. Let's take a look at some of the drivers who are challenging for pole position. Julian Paus. Let's go for another on board. In fact, he does have a steering wheel, so it's not a problem with all of the Bizzarinis. And I think it's rather impressive that Matheus Estrella is lapping so quickly without a steering wheel. But of course, that is the magic of the simulator. He's got a little bit of traffic here. I believe that's Philip Pichler's Porsche just ahead. The Porsche 908/4, the least powerful but lightest car in the field. Definitely goes for cornering ability and handling rather than full-on speed. And he's just as entitled to the track as Julian Paus is, so getting in the way a little bit, and into the wall goes Paus, bang, smash, around he goes, and he's collected someone there. Oh, collected 2 cars, Paul Upham is one of them, and was the other one Estrella? It was. So I don't think that Paus or Estrella will get another flying lap in due to that collision there. Just an unfortunate mistake from Julian Paus, and Upham rolls backwards down the track. And I don't think that Paus will get enough time to get around and start another lap. Here's Kirill Kirillov in his Ferrari, who will begin another lap, being chased down by one of the Chevrolet Corvettes, possibly, is it Maddie Shepherd? Could be Laurent Blondes, I think it is. Doesn't really matter. Where is Paus on the lap actually? Because he's still going, which would imply he still thinks that he can start another lap. Otherwise, he wouldn't be continuing on in the session. He's definitely got damage though. Look at him running wide and going into the wall. I'm not really sure why he's continuing to do laps here, but I guess we will wait and see. Bremgarten, of course, has a quite a storied history. It was set to be one of the staples of the Grand Prix calendar, having held Grand Prix from 1934 all the way through to 1954. Then unfortunately the 1955 Swiss Grand Prix was cancelled due to the Le Mans disaster, which happened in France in 1955, and a lot of circuits around the world felt that motor racing was a liability and ceased to hold Grand Prix in front of spectators. And motor racing was actually banned in Switzerland, and not many people know this, but it still technically is. Yes, they held a Formula E race here a couple of years ago. They made an exception for electric racing. They passed a law which made an exception specifically for electric racing. And hill climbs and rallies have also been allowed here in Switzerland because they are not technically spectator sports, even though I would say they are more dangerous for spectators. But anyway, that's the state of play in Switzerland as it is, which means that what we're doing here would technically be illegal in real life, and we are kind of breaking Swiss law. But anyway, I guess that's what just makes this race even more appealing. Kirillov has been pushed down into 4th position here by Jari Laakkonen, who goes up to 3rd. So it's a Bizzarini 1-2-3 as it stands. Kirillov continues to lap the course in his bright yellow Ferrari, and we'll see if he can upset the running order at all. It looks as if it's going to be Estella, Paus and Laakkonen in a Bizzarini 1-2-3. But still some time to go. He comes towards the start-finish line. The start-finish straight known as Balletten, or Bad Lehan, sorry, Bad Lehan. I'm looking at a track map now, and Kirillov pulls into the pits, meaning Matheus Estrella is confirmed as having taken, has been confirmed as having taken pole position. The Bizzarini seemingly the fastest car here today. Julian Paus will be 2nd. In fact, since the session is over, we'll take a look back at the timing here. So Estrella takes pole by 0.3 of a second. Very good lap over Julian Paus. Then it's Jari Laakkonen, Kirill Kirillov, Paul Upham, Phil Brown, Kimi Martikainen, Maddie Shepherd, Laurent Lons, John van der Geest, Michael Mazurek, Stefan Lagodin, Philip Pichler and Mark Johnson. Marius Lebioda is in the server apparently, but did not set a flying lap. And Tony Talviti, who is 2nd in the championship, having won last time out, is not racing here today for whatever reason. I'll have to have a look through the forums to see if he has explained that. But yeah, championship leaders in trouble here, with Shepherd only 8th on the grid and Talviti not even turning up. And that leaves the door wide open for potentially someone brand new to come through and take a result. Could we keep up the streak of having drivers take the Grand Chelem, pole, fastest lap, every lap led, and the race win? Or will someone else upset the apple cart here by overtaking Matheus Estrella? Judging by qualifying, Estrella is going to be very hard to beat indeed. 0.3 of a second is... okay, it's not huge on a 2 minute and 20 second circuit, but it's certainly considerable, and definitely one to look out for. Okay, so as you can see in the chat at the bottom of the screen, this event has a partial formation lap. That means that they're going to head off in single file, and on the exit of turn 1, the race will begin. You can't overtake anyone before you exit turn 1, and it's up to the leader to decide exactly when to go. So it is going to be a single file start. I do remember getting that wrong last time out, as I was told that there was no formation lap. But that's in the past, and we know what the state of play is today. Good to see Philip Pickler and Julian Paus making it up in the YouTube chat over that little miscommunication in qualifying that ultimately resulted in both of them losing out, and to be honest, Paul Upham also an innocent victim in all of that, as was Matheus Estrella, but I don't think he'll mind too much. He is on pole position today. I'm actually going to close a couple of tabs just quickly, because I noticed that we had a little bit of a screen flickering issue, just as we did in the last race. So I'm going to see if I can sort that out really quickly. Okie dokie. Good to see Tony Talviti in the YouTube chat saying good luck, have fun. Why aren't you here, Tony? Hopefully you can come back in a future race, because I think that you're very competitive and we all enjoy seeing you winning. Anyway, we have 27 seconds to go till the race starts, so let's take a look once again at the grid order. It will be Estrella on pole, followed by Paus, Lackinen, Kirilov, Upham, Brown, Martikainen, Shepard, Lons, Van der Geest, Michal Mazurek, Stefan Lagodin, Philip Pickler, Mark Johnson and Mariusz Lebioda, if Lebioda starts the race, because he didn't set a time in qualifying. I have to go to the grid, and then when the lights go out we will be on a partial formation lap just up towards turn 1. Here we go. Now I'm going to get myself back into position in time to see the start. Matheus Estrella leads away, and it's all up to him now to determine when the race begins. It has to be on the exit of turn 1. Hello to Roman Labro in the YouTube chat, Tony Salviti, and Gamos, who is cheering on Julian Paus just as last time. Here we go, the race is set to begin, and Matheus Estrella leads us away here. They're already side by side for third, and a big bounce over the curb for Kirill Kirilov. He may have caught the fence there. So Lackinen keeps third position, Kirilov nearly losing out immediately. Has everyone started the race? Yes, indeed they have. We have 15 cars in total out here in this race, with the last of those being Mariusz Lebioda. So Estrella leads, followed by Paus, then it's Lackinen and Kirilov. Still Bizzarini's 1, 2 and 3. This beautiful field of 1960s GTC cars. A very eclectic mix of vehicles, some going for power, some going for control. All of them extremely expensive, all of them absolutely stunningly beautiful. Mark Johnson is our first spinner, I'm afraid, in the Jaguar Lightweight, and Paus takes the lead. Estrella looks as if he ran wide on the exit of that corner. Hopefully didn't make contact with the barriers, but he's definitely taken the lead. Phil Brown's lost 3 positions, and now Lackinen goes to the lead. Well, we didn't see that. Something's happened to Paus potentially, and he's losing plenty of places. He's gone down to 4th. He must have made a mistake, because Paus is losing time hand over fist. He goes to 5th. Paus drops to 5th. So Lackinen leads, Estrella is 2nd, Kirilov is 3rd, Upham 4th, and Paus is down to 5th position on the first lap of the race. Well, it's a shame we weren't looking at that. It looked as if the leaders were kind of settling in, and that nothing was going to happen. That's why I took a look back to the back of the field, as Mark Johnson had a spin in his Jaguar Lightweight, but unfortunately we missed some action at the front of the field as Julian Paus made a mistake and dropped down into 5th position behind the 2 Ferraris, who are now 3rd and 4th. Back to the lead we go. There was a little look there from Kirilov, trying to get up into 2nd position, past Matheus Estrella, who holds firm. as jubilation immediately turns to commiseration in the YouTube chat. Gamos typing "let's go" and then "no," and that would have been about Julian Powers taking the lead and then immediately losing it. But he has now got up to 4th position, or at least he's side by side with Paul Upham down the start-finish straight, heading towards turn 1. Upham has the inside line and he's not able to get through on this occasion. That's a very tight turn 1. We saw Kirilov nearly clouting the fence going round there on the first lap, and these drivers just about getting away with it this time around. Dropping back a little from Kirilov in 3rd position now. Keeping an eye on the top 3. I do not want to miss anything between these Bizzarinis, but I've now missed something between Powers and Upham because he's made the move stick. Powers does get through into 4th position now to begin his charge back through the order, having dropped so many positions on that opening lap. Kirilov once again taking a look at Estrella through turn 3. What a dramatic and quick start to this race that this has been. Championship leader Maddie Shepherd, only in 7th position still in this race, has not gained as much time as she would perhaps have wanted to. Up the hill we go. I believe this section of track is the Jordan section of track. Jordan followed by Jordan Rampart, and then we get 2 right-handers at Aymat and Tenny. Unfortunately, I don't speak French or whatever language these corners are named in, so I'm not sure exactly what these corners are, what these corner names mean. I do know that turn 1 is known as Quarry, and there's a good reason for that because there is presumably a quarry nearby. There's a section around about here on the track called Trentignon, named after, of course, Maurice Trintignant, who raced here in Formula 1 back in the early 1950s. And looking at the Swiss Grand Prix results, Maurice Trintignant, I don't think he ever actually won here. No, he never actually won the Grand Prix, but I imagine probably got quite close to winning it a couple of times. The last Grand Prix held here in 1954 was won, of course, by the great Juan Manuel Fangio on his way to winning the 1954 World Championship for Mercedes. Ascari won here, Taruffi won here, and Farina won here in the very first season in 1950, and that's a mistake for Estrella. And Kirilov leads the race. And into the wall again. And that was Lackinen there, bashing the barriers a little on the exit of the corner. Lackinen now side by side with Estrella through the sweepers. He maintains 2nd, Estrella drops to 3rd, so Kirilov now leads the race. Goodness me, it's like every time I look down something happens. Paus now loses 3 more places, another mistake. And there's definitely damage on the front of that car, just as we saw in Bannock Bray. His bonnet is pinched upwards slightly. There you see it as he comes into shot. So he's definitely hit something front on. And hopefully that's not causing him much strife in terms of the handling of the car. I'm going to take a look back on the YouTube stream to see if I actually did catch what happened as I was looking down. John Van der Geest now catches and passes Phil Brown. And that, of course, puts Maddie Shepherd up to 6th place now in the Corvette. Shepherd closing in on Kimi Martikainen, who has got up into 5th position. Good running position for Martikainen in this one. So Estrella was leading the race, and I think we did catch what happened on the YouTube stream. He was just a little bit slow through the sweepers. Much slower than the likes of Lackinen and Kirilov. Lackinen bounced up over the curb to take the lead. Kirilov went round the outside and took both of them. What a fantastic move from the Ferrari driver. And what a strange issue for Matheus Estrella, who lost about 1 second in just about 200 meters of track. Oh, and Estrella's off again. Estrella is off again. And he's clearly hit something. And he now drops 4 positions down into 7th place. Goodness me, a very dramatic start to this race. Martikainen is now 4th, Shepherd now 5th, Paus is now 6th. This is going to be one of those races where making the fewest mistakes brings you out on top, just as it did at Bannock Bray last time out, when pretty much nobody but Tony Talviti got away without any damage. Roman Labro says, do you have chase cam? I can go to chase cam like this. I don't think it looks hugely professional, but I guess it does show us this course relatively well. I think I'd rather go on board here with Matheus Estrella, who still does not have a steering wheel. He's just miming the actions of changing gear, not even bothering to turn his hands. This is one of the many beautiful quirks of sim racing. Estrella's had a very up and down race. He's been everywhere from 1st to 7th. He's now in 7th place. I think this is where he hit the wall about a lap ago. And I think he has the measure of this track in terms of he knows the fastest way around it, but just a few too many mistakes from Matheus Estrella so far. The pole sitter down in 7th position in this race. Estrella was very good recently in the classic Grand Prix Championship we did. Stefan Lagodin's been for a spin in the AC Cobra. And Paus is side by side with Shepard. This is for 5th place. Paus goes back to 5th, round the outside in a Bizzarini. Shepard now under pressure from another Bizzarini, Matheus Estrella, who is unable to make that manoeuvre. Up the hill they go. It's the most powerful car in the field versus the car with the theoretical fastest top speed, at least according to the Content Manager app that I used to download this mod. And Martikainen's off! Oh, that's a shame! Martikainen is one of the drivers who I didn't think had made a mistake yet in this race, and he drops 4 places. Possible damage, he's definitely got a damaged windscreen. I don't see any steering damage necessarily, but the car itself has definitely seen better days. Fastest lap set now by Kirill Kirillov as he gets away in the lead of the race. He now leads by 3 seconds. Martikainen rejoins the race. He is 8th position now. So Upham, Paus, Shepard, Estrella and Van der Geest have all gained positions. And Paul Upham, a driver who we've not seen much of, is now in a podium position. To be honest, one of the only other times we've seen him today was when he was getting wiped out in qualifying in his blue Ferrari, one of just 2 Ferraris that we have in this race. And the other one is leading it overall, Kirill Kirillov, having made that wonderful double overtake around the outside just a couple of laps ago. Hello to Croxhill, who says, the Bizzarini seems hard to drive around here. It does indeed. The Bizzarini is clearly the fastest, as shown by the fact they took 1, 2 and 3, the first 3 positions in qualifying, but then dropped back as the race continued. And of course, the pole sitter, Matheus Estrella, is now down all the way in 6th position. The Ferrari, on the other hand, is handling a treat. Kirill Kirillov, apart from slightly touching the fence on that first lap of the race, has seemed to have the measure of his opponents all the way through. Paul Upham, of course, 3rd position in that other Ferrari. Roman Labro says, yeah, you need to be on the limit every time. That does seem to be the case, because when you have a car that fast, with so much power, it's probably a little bit of a shock when you reach a corner and you find that the car is as heavy as that Bizzarini is. I think it's the only car in the field that weighs over a ton, funnily enough. Cars did tend to be lighter back in the day. They didn't have these reinforced roll cages, they didn't have all the electrical equipment that we have nowadays, and they were just generally a little bit smaller. So having a car that weighed a ton back then, and racing it, was quite unusual, but Bizzarini tried it, and they made up for it with immense power and a lot of torque. Quick laps again from Kirillov and Lakkinen, 221s. Paus does the same. Looks like Mark Johnson has got past Levioda for 14th place, and Stefan Lagodin has had another spin, but continues. And Estrella passes Shepard. Estrella gets through, Looks like that's turn 1 to me. There we go. Matheus Estrella is up into 5th position, overtaking the championship leader and winner of the first round at Rennes. I think Shepard is probably missing the long straights that we had at the time. The Corvette likes its straights, doesn't necessarily like sweeping corners, I'm afraid. And I think that's where Shepard is losing out here. Welcome to Ray Norton in the YouTube chat as well, saying commentary is excellent. Thank you very much. My name's Caitlin Penny, if you haven't witnessed my broadcast before, and I'm very glad that you're enjoying this. And thank you to Sim Racing Online for giving me the opportunity to do this. Did you see that slide from Maddie Shepard there? Coming through the right-hander, kicked the tail out massively. That was great stuff and really good car control. We know that Shepard can do it. She's won plenty of Sim Racing Online championships in the past. And having raced against her myself, I can tell you that she knows how to drive a car. In fact, one of the last Sim Racing Online championships that I did, the classic Grand Prix season, where we used cars from the 1930s, Shepard won that and powered the Auto Union like it had a big old front and rear wing plastered onto it, which of course was not the case back in the 1930s. Matheus Estrella, another one of those cars with damage, the front bonnet poking up a little bit. One thing that this league has allowed for is only 50% of damage is registered, so it means that if you have an accident, it will be 50% less damaging than it would be if we race the mod as default. Laurent Lons, meanwhile, has passed Phil Brown for 10th position. The Corvette making a move on the Cobra, and Kirillov goes fastest again. He's nearly up to the lap times he was setting in qualifying. I am pretty sure that we will beat the qualifying record here today, especially when the cars get lighter and lighter on fuel as the race goes along. But yeah, as I was saying, Sim Racing Online, of course, being a championship designed to be accessible, designed to be a championship for amateur drivers who may not necessarily have the ability to go racing in reality, and may not quite have the experience or the time to practice as much as professional sim racers might. We understand that accidents are going to happen. Talking of such, Lebioda appears to be in the trees. Where's the circuit? Goodness me, he's gone miles off the road. Okay, well, case in point, as he rejoins the circuit down in 15th position, and Mazurek passes Martikainen there for 8th position. It's another Corvette manoeuvre now. The Corvettes may be starting to come into their own. But yeah, the limited damage just means that if accidents do happen, the drivers aren't instantaneously out of the race. But of course, we couldn't turn damage off altogether, otherwise there would be no jeopardy whatsoever. And the drivers still need to have their wits about them as they continued on in these races. Croxil asks how many pit stops are expected in this race. The answer is absolutely none, as we see Mazurek once again side by side with Martikainen. Down the straight we've got Mazurek on the left in his red Corvette, and Martikainen on the right in the Alfa Romeo, nearly dipping wheels on the grass. They're still side by side. They've been side by side for about 10 seconds now. 15 seconds. Martikainen up the inside does get through, and Mazurek gets mugged by Laurent Lons, who goes through into 9th position. Phil Brown now catching in the Cobra. But yeah, no pit stops are expected in this race. Fuel usage is set to only about 50% as well, as Mariusz Lebioda does pit, so proves me wrong, but I think that's for damage repairs more than anything else. And of course, back in the 1960s, tyre wear was not as great as it is nowadays. The tyres were less slick than they are now, and they were designed to last much longer. Sometimes in the 60s you'd get drivers doing several races on one set of tyres, which would of course help to save cost. Mariusz Lebioda, I'm afraid, is our first retirement from this race. He DNFs from 15th position. Now, while we've been talking, Julian Paus has been on a charge, getting back up to speed in his Bizzarini. He set the fastest lap of the race in the 220s, well into the 220s, and he is right on the back of Paul Upham now. Paul Upham's Ferrari. Let's ride on board. Let's not, because Mazurek and Martikainen are going side by side. Martikainen's off the road. Big incident for the Alfa Romeo driver, who adds to his collection of dents and scratches. He already had a pretty shattered windscreen, and I'm afraid it's got worse for the Alfa Romeo driver, who's been running as high as 4th position in this race so far, and is now down in 12th position. Brown is back up into the top 10, Lagodin is 11th, and Martikainen touches the wall once again. Okay, now let's take a look back at that Upham-Paus battle, and let's ride on board with Julian Paus. Sorry that I drastically cut away from that, or rapidly cut away from that, but there was something rather interesting going on behind. Drivers playing bumper cars or something along those lines. We don't have any replays, so we can't tell that it was Martikainen's fault. And as we're talking, Upham did not get the line he wanted there, and I think Julian Paus is lining him up for a move. However, with the sweepers on a track this narrow, actually pulling that overtake is much easier said than done. Shepard goes through to 5th. Shepard has passed Matheus Estrella now for 5th position. This is the championship leader versus the pole sitter. Two very competitive drivers fighting over just 5th position in this race. These two would have expected to be fighting at least for the podium positions at this stage in the race. We're over a quarter of the way in now, nearly 1/3 of the way in. Kirill Kirillov continues to lead, continues to set rapid lap times. Jari Lakkinen second, sets a personal best lap time. And then Upham and Paus, 3rd and 4th, lose time due to battling between each other. Shepard is still 5th, Estrella is still 6th. Although Estrella is lining up Shepard, pokes to the outside through Quarry. They touch ever so slightly, a big lockup from Estrella. We need to see this, they've touched, they're in the wall. Ah, my goodness, that was a little bit clumsy, I'm afraid to say. We saw a big lockup from the driver on the inside. I think it was Shepard actually locking up. I'm sorry if I said Estrella, but yeah, big lockup from the Corvette of Maddie Shepard, who comes together with Estrella and potentially does more damage to the Bizzarini. Hopefully not too much, but still gets out ahead in that 5th position. John van der Geest is still 7th, then it's Laurent Lons, Michal Mazurek and Phil Brown making up the top 10, and also remaining in this race are Stefan Lagodin, Kimi Martikainen, Philip Hickler. That's the only Porsche 908-4 in this race. Let's take a look at that quickly, because we really haven't seen much of the Porsche 908-4, but it's a lovely little machine. Looks to be a little bit of damage to the front of it, though. But by this point in the race, not many drivers don't have damage, I'm afraid to say. And then Mark Johnson at the back, P14 in his Jaguar E-Type lightweight. Back to the battle between Shepard and Estrella. Estrella catching up once again, coming for his revenge. Roman Labro says keep pushing, and that's got to be the case, because we are only 1/3 of the way into this race, still all to play for. The field, it's spread out in a few places due to a few little incidents that we've had, but there are still plenty of battles up and down the field. That's the advantage of having a championship with 15 drivers still in it, because it means that wherever you end up, there's always someone to race with, and even if you're right out at the back, you can treat it as a race with yourself. You know, improve your lap times if you can. And if you have the pace, why not go for fastest lap overall? It always feels good to come home with fastest lap, and there is actually a bonus point for fastest lap in this championship, so you may still get significant points if you finish with the fastest lap. Here we come towards the end of... Well, they've actually just started a lap here, have Estrella and Shepard, so obviously I was not concentrating on where they were on the lap. Upham and Paus are still nose to tail, and Mazurek and Brown are fighting for 9th, with Brown getting up 1 position. That AC Cobra I mean, I've described all of these cars as beautiful. To be honest, the Cobra is more iconic than beautiful. It had a very distinctive shape. And of course, it was one of the first, as I said at Bannock, one of the first very successful hybrid nationality cars out there. British built chassis with AC cars, American built motor, courtesy of Ford and Carroll Shelby. Carroll Shelby raced this car to great success as well, and it's still one of the most popular classic cars in existence. You'll often see classic car meets absolutely peppered with AC Cobras and Shelby Cobras and the like, because they were just so popular at the, when they were built. People have looked after them well, and as a result, quite a few of them to survive into the present day. And I'm a bit wary that we might miss something going on up front here between Upham and Powys, because I keep being dragged away from this scrap by other things happening further back. And it always seems to be exactly when that happens that there's a change of position in the podium places. But everyone in this race is just as important. And I don't just say that to be charitable, I say that because points are gifted up and down the field. If you finish this race, you will score points. And even if you don't finish, you'll score some points. Because points in Sim Racing Online go down further than 15th place, and we only have 15 cars in the race. And 5th place is now back in the hands of Matheus Estrella, who passes Maddie Shepherd just before the point in the course where they came together a few laps ago, which of course is right there. Maddie Shepherd over the hill into the heavy braking zone. I wonder which of these cars brakes better, the Bitserini or the Corvette. I would say probably the Corvette, actually, considering the Bitserini is so heavy. And of course the Corvette did very well at Reims, which is a circuit where braking zones are numerous and very, very long. And I was a bit worried after Reims that the Corvettes would pretty much dominate this season, because they certainly seem to be the dominant car there. But since then, the Bitserini has really come to the fore, and the Corvette has really dropped back. Not only did Tony Talviti dominate the last round at Bannock, but Maddie Shepherd really struggled, actually. Okay, had a few accidents, so we didn't necessarily see her ultimate pace, but in qualifying she wasn't really as far up as she would have liked to have been, especially at her home race, being Scottish and all. Maddie Shepherd only qualified, well, she only finished in 5th position in that race. Over the hilltop once again, under the banner. It's a lovely cinematic shot there, looking through the weeds at the cars coming through. Kirill Kirillov has continued to build out his lead. He now leads by 7.5 seconds. At this rate, he should win this race by the best part of 20 seconds. But that, of course, depends on keeping it clean. Tony Talviti in the chat says no pit stops. Yes, indeed. How are you doing, Tony? It's a shame that we don't see you out on track today, but still a good few cars in attendance, 15 drivers. I always worry with these championships that the attendance, and look at Powys, and Upham's off. So Powys is back into 3rd position because Upham has had a spin. Now whether or not there was contact between the two of them, I don't know, because they were right together on track. And we don't have any replays, so we can't tell you for sure, at least not until they drop into the forum after the race and let us know what happened, if they will. But that does mean that Julian Powys is back up into 3rd position. Tony says working with a sad face. That's a shame. But Well, if you are able to make any other rounds in the championship, you can always drop back in. But yeah, like I said, I'm always worried that we're going to start losing attendance as the series goes along, because that has happened in some other championships. And it's always a little bit of a shame when drivers realise that they can't win the championship and they just sort of give up and don't really attend anymore. I always try to attend as many races as I can. If I've entered a series, I want to finish it, if at all possible. But I understand that sometimes real life gets in the way, which is fair enough. These drivers, of course, all technically amateurs. They may take it very seriously indeed, and the racing is very, very good and very professionally done, but nobody's getting paid for this. And so, if work pops up, as in Tony Talviti's case, then it's fully understandable that drivers would prioritise that. But the fact is, we still have 15 drivers here, 14 of which remain in the race. And that is more than enough for a competitive sim race. Only 2 cars make a race. 3 cars make a podium. But 15 cars is more than enough for a fantastic classic GTs race. We're nearing the halfway point in this race now. The battle for the lead doesn't appear to be in much doubt right now. Kirill Kirillov has been extending that margin ever since he took the lead on about the 3rd or 4th lap of the race. And the podium places all seem to be pretty stable, and that was not stable at all from Paul Upham. Flying through the corner and over the grass, getting some serious airtime there. And that would be very expensive to do in an actual Ferrari 275 GTB. Good job, this is sim racing, eh? You can't injure yourself. You're not going to be forking out millions of pounds if you crash one of these priceless beauties. But what it can cost you is time, and ultimately, a shot at the championship. Keep going, Paul Upham. Stefan Lagodin just lost a place. That's Kimi Martikainen through into 11th. Gaining some places back. He had a very good start to this race, did Kimi Martikainen, but the car looking a little bit worse for wear now. Oh! And he's gone! And he's disconnected entirely. And so has Jari Lakkinen. Now, I very much hope that's just on my side. Okay. There may have just been a little bit of a server disconnection, because unfortunately Jari Lakkinen is out of the race from 2nd position. Now, I don't want to panic anyone, because at the last race in Bannock-Bray, it looked as if a driver had dropped out of the race, and then they suddenly pinged back into existence again when the server sorted itself out. But it does look as if Jari Lakkinen has been cost a 2nd place finish, providing he would have stayed in that position anyway, and that is bitterly disappointing. I know how that feels. In the IndyCar Championship recently on R-Factor 2, I've had quite a few disconnections from strong results, and that is a big shame. And there we go, the server is now confirming that Jari Lakkinen is out of the race, as is Kimi Martikainen. That is bitterly disappointing for both of them. And I can't help but feel sorry for that situation, because it's not like we can restart the race this far in. It's not like we would, and that means that, well, it's hard cheese. There's nothing we can do about it. 12 cars will remain in the race now. And Mark Johnson will be the last of those when he goes past where Jari Lakkinen DNF'd. That puts Paul Upham into 3rd position. That was a very bad pun, but I tried. Mateus Estrella is now 4th, followed by Maddie Shepherd, so the championship leader back into the top 5 as she was before. And Julian Paus, of course, the immensely popular Julian Paus, is running in 2nd position. Croxhill says Finnish servers are gone. That would explain it, you know, because they are both from Finland. Yes, very good spot, actually. I wonder if Tony Talviti is experiencing any internet issues right now. Maybe it's on the Assetto Corsa Finnish server. But yes, they did both DNF at exactly the same time, didn't they? And they are both from Finland. I would not have put that together if you hadn't pointed that out, so thank you very much for doing that. Roman Labro says sim racing problems. Yes, indeed. Well, we haven't had that so much on Assetto Corsa recently. It's been a little bit of a problem in R Factor 2. I'm actually a bit nervous about the race at Mid-Ohio in 3 days' time because I've had 3 disconnections in 2 races. Work that one out. And if it happens again, then I'm certainly going to be scratching my head, wondering what else I can do. But less about me and my problems. Let's continue on with this race, because Estrella has caught up to the back of Paul Upham. He's released from Maddie Shepherd, who he spent so long trying to get past, and a very quick lap there for Kirill Kirillov, who takes the provisional fastest lap of the race and is the first driver in the 2:19s in the race. Fantastic stuff there. And as I said before, fastest lap is worth a point, as is pole position, so Estrella gained a point earlier on. I'll take a look back at the official lap records at this track, the official race lap records, because I think we have, yeah, we've absolutely smashed it. The official real life lap record was 2 minutes 34.5 by Bernd Rosemeyer. I apologise, I said Rudo Caracciolo earlier, but it was Bernd Rosemeyer in an Auto Union Type C. I think the reason I said Caracciolo off the top of my head was because he did win this Grand Prix a good few times. Rudolf Caracciolo was actually the most successful driver here, winning it 3 times, the Swiss Grand Prix. And that would have been in 1935, 1937 and 1938. The Swiss Grand Prix, of course, held here for 20 years, minus the period from 1940 to 1936, where it was, of course, postponed due to World War II. Also held the motorcycle Grand Prix. I hope I haven't been, when I've been talking about the history of the sport, I know I've been slightly ignoring the motorcycle history that this place has as well. That also stopped in 1955. The last Swiss motorcycle Grand Prix would have been held here in 1954. The motorbike lap record here held by a guy called Rod Coleman in the 1953 Swiss motorcycle Grand Prix. The Formula 1 lap record held by Juan Manuel Fangio, on his way to winning the 1954 Swiss Grand Prix. And Estrella has gone round the outside of Paul Upham and has gone through into 3rd position. We saw it happening, and a very successful manoeuvre there from Matheus Estrella. Right as I was distracted talking about the history of this place. Sorry, it always tends to be the way. But yeah, rather came out of nowhere there. Paul Upham did not get as good a run through the sweepers as Estrella did, and he used that supreme power of the Bizzarini to go through into 3rd position. We now have 2 Bizzarinis back on the podium, whereas we had 2 Ferraris before, and a big kick of two-wheeled opposite lock there from Paul Upham over the grass. But it's Ferrari, Bizzarini, Bizzarini, Ferrari in this race, followed by the Corvette of Maddie Shepherd. Shepherd is not actually that far behind this battle, could still potentially catch Paul Upham if it goes her way. Roman Labro says Kirill is impressive. Wow. Well, I tell you what, last time I looked at that gap... Oh, I'll tell you why. Sorry. I was about to say something very stupid, which was last time I looked at that gap, the gap for the lead was only 8 seconds, but of course that was the gap between Kirillov and Jari Lakkinen, and then of course Lakkinen retired, and that means of course that Kirillov now has a gap of nearly 16.5 seconds over Julian Paus. Gap seems to be coming down slightly as we watch it, but that might just be due to where they are on the track. I still think everything is going okay with Kirill Kirillov. We haven't seen him for a while though, so let's watch him for a bit. In fact, let's ride on board and see how this track should be done in race conditions on board a bright yellow banana of a Ferrari 275 GTB. The car he's about to lap is Mark Johnson in the Jaguar E-Type lightweight, who's rather sticking to the inside here. Kirillov goes round the outside. Blue flags are only advisory in this race. You won't get a penalty if you stick in front of a car that's lapping you, but Kirillov does go through cleanly, and that may have been why he lost a little bit of time to Julian Paus behind, because he was just taking it cautiously, trying to lap the Jaguar, and fair enough, you don't want to risk anything untoward, especially considering you have a lead that is so comfortable at this point in the race. Paus, though, the fastest driver on the track on this last lap, sets a personal best of 220.6. Wow, that Jaguar sounds nice. Much lower engine note than the Ferrari has, but I guess that's just the difference in their engines. The Ferrari 275 GTB has a 3.3 litre V12 engine. Of course, Enzo Ferrari himself said, "I married a V12 engine and I never divorced it." And the 275 GTB was another one in a long line of 12-cylinder engines that the great Enzo Ferrari himself oversaw the construction of. And then the Jaguar E-Type lightweight has a 3.8 litre inline 6, so half the cylinders of the Ferrari, hence the much lower engine note, although a slightly larger, slightly hungrier engine, and actually producing ever so slightly more horsepower according to my notes as well. 344 brake horsepower as opposed to the Ferrari's 320. Talking of 20, we have 20 minutes to go in this race now, so we are 2/3 of the way through the allotted time. Of course, the race will be ever so slightly longer than that, but when the timer runs out, the race doesn't end then and there. They complete the lap that they're on, the leader completes the lap that he's on, and then everyone behind them will finish when they cross the line. Kirillov still leads this race by 14.5 seconds over Julian Paus. Then it's Matheus Estrella third, pulling away from Paul Upham, who is in 4th position. Maddie Shepherd, championship leader, is 5th. John van der Geest is 6th. Laurent Lons is 7th. Then it's Phil Brown 8th. Michal Mazurek is 9th. Stefan Lagodin is 10th. Philip Pichler is 11th. And 12th is Mark Johnson, who sets his personal best lap of the race, albeit quite a... Oh, and Shepherd and Upham have swapped places, and they both came up as... Well, one thing that's worth looking out for is that when a driver's name comes up as red on the leaderboard, that usually means that they've had some kind of an incident, or at least an issue. You can see Upham lost 6 seconds to Shepherd on that lap, so whatever happened to him was much worse. I think potentially Upham had maybe a spin or something, and Shepherd lost time avoiding him. But whatever that means, Maddie Shepherd is up into 4th position in this race, and Upham is down to 6th. Oh, and over the grass again. That's not the first time we've seen Paul Upham do that at that very point on the circuit. After the top 5, John van der Geest is 6th, Lons is 7th, Brown 8th, Mazurek 9th. Not far ahead of Lagodin in 10th. Lagodin is actually quite quickly catching Michal Mazurek. We haven't seen much of these two, so we might as well take a quick look at what they're doing. Two massive American engines in these cars. The Corvette has a Chevrolet engine, and the AC has a Ford engine. Both of them big V8s. Round a right-hander they go. What corner on the track's that? Let me find a track map again that I unfortunately closed earlier. I think that might be the corner known as Passerelle Elscholtz. whatever on earth that means. As good old Rob Milliken would say, what in the heavens to Betsy that means. And now around the back of the circuit they go. I think these are the two right-handers, Matt and Tenny. Yep, that looks about right. And then we have a long, flat-out section of sweepers. I'm not sure it's entirely flat out. There's a right-hander coming up now where they may need a little lift. But it's certainly pretty darn fast down here, and they're side by side. Lagodin is on the left. And fended off there by Mazurek in the bright red, the blood red Corvette. The next heavy braking zone will be effectively the final corner at Forsthaus. I wonder if that means Forest House. Spelt Forst, F-R-O-S-T, and then House, H-A-U-S. Potentially. Obviously, like I said earlier, I don't speak the language that these corner names are written in. Mazurek going so tight to the corner there that he actually ever so slightly nudged to the inside. And out towards the end of the lap he goes. And Lagodin will have to try again. That lap was not successful in terms of overtaking Michal Mazurek. As you can see, their lap time's pretty much exactly the same. Means they're in roughly the same situation they were in a lap ago. And he's just got to do the same thing again, but better. Down the hill, we've seen drivers almost taking flight there, using the curbs on both the left and right. Or no curbs, just grass banks, and Lagodin... Well, Mazurek took a load of grass bank there, so Lagodin goes to the outside and does go around the outside of Michal Mazurek up into 9th position. Nicely done there. Stefan Lagodin in the AC Shelby Cobra. Specifically, the Shelby Cobra hard top. Goes through into 9th position. I specify the hard top because this mod also has the competition version available, which is a convertible. Not much difference between the two. They're based on exactly the same chassis. They both have exactly the same engine. And yeah, I really don't think it matters which one you go for in the end. And Lagodin will be hoping to now get away from Mazurek. He's already built up a second due to that mistake from Mazurek. Shepard and Upham are back together again. Okay. So the battle for 4th place not over yet. Oh! Is that a disconnection from Upham? Oh, it's a disconnection from me. Okay, well that's not very handy. Luckily, the cars are all back. And I'm very glad to see that Upham did not lose out. And how has... Well, that's weird. My order is showing that Van der Geest... Okay, I think my order needed time to set itself straight then. It said that Laurent Lons was ahead of John Van der Geest, but he clearly isn't. But talking of getting ahead... Oh, up and over the grass again. And Shepard is... Well, Shepard fends him off. Shepard fends him off and stays 4th. That all looked a little bit dicey there. What I was saying is that they've dropped back from the podium places. They're about 40 seconds behind the overall lead. Only 14 seconds behind Matheus Estrella, of course, but the podium a little bit spread out as it stands. But it's good to see that there are still battles up and down the order. Not sure what happened between Van der Geest and Lons. I think it might have just been that as I had that brief disconnection, there might have been a little bit of panic in the system. But yeah, sorry about that. Hope I didn't panic anyone. 13 minutes left to go in this race now. Will John Van der Geest get lucky? Or will Laurent Lons be able to power his way through in that Corvette? Van der Geest going a little bit defensive. Leaves room for Lons on the outside. Lons cutting back. unable to take advantage. The Alfa presumably just so nimble in a straight line, so nimble around the corners, which is really what matters here in this sweeping section. But they're side by side once again. Here comes Lons. According to our timing screen, he's got through, but there's contact and they're both in the wall. It looked as if a slight misjudgment took place there, and Laurent Lons squeezes John van der Geest into the wall. And what will happen now? Van der Geest would rather like to get back through again. And one thing we've seen so far this season is that the cars don't tend to pick up steering damage. So Lons and Van der Geest, if they hit the wall quite squarely, they might be okay. You still don't want to do that, especially when you're racing with an opponent who might get a little angry at you. But yeah, Laurent Lons is through into 6th position somehow. Anyway, what I was going to say about the Alfa Romeo 33 Corsa Stradale is, according to the Content Manager app, the Alfa 33 Corsa Stradale has technically the lowest top speed of any of the cars that are being used, but it really makes up for that in the corners, and even in the fast corners. Because obviously there are some corners here where the heavier cars might have to lift off the throttle, your Corvettes, your Cobras, your Bizzarinis, but the Alfa Romeo might not, and being light should also help it in the braking zones too. Through the trees. We've completed 20 laps of this race, so I think we should be on course for about 25 at the end of this, depending on where the leader is on the track. And they're side by side once again. Van der Geest got a good run out of that corner. He might struggle for power around the outside of Laurent Lons, but he's got the grip out there. He'll be on the inside for the next corner. If he tries braking later, he might get this. Oh, but he might hit the wall. He does. And Lons will come back through. More contact for John van der Geest, just as we saw a lap ago. But this time it is not contact with another car, just with the side of the circuit. Roman Labro says that was dirt, presumably referring to the collision between Lons and Van der Geest. Certainly wasn't the cleanest of manoeuvres. And what has happened to John van der Geest? He has spun well off the road. And just as we saw from Mariusz Lebioda earlier on, he is in the trees. Brown goes through to 7th now. Can Van der Geest find his way back into this race? Does he know what way he came from? Well, that's a very unfortunate incident there for John van der Geest. Now, this is what took Mariusz Lebioda out, and he's gone back to the pits. This is so costly for Van der Geest. He may well be out of this race. Of course, he was rather unceremoniously dumped into the pit wall in Reims. You can find a video of that accident on the Sim Racing Online YouTube channel, even though the race itself was unfortunately not streamed due to broadcasting issues. He did upload that accident, and I believe might actually have been Kirill Kirillov who got a penalty for that. I think it was. Kirillov doing a good job now, though. I think he'll have put that well and truly behind him. And John van der Geest has dropped to the back of the field, so even if he is somehow able to get his way back into the race, which I think he has now, yes he has, so you are allowed to tow back to the pits, but obviously he's lost a lap in doing so. Seems to have repaired the damage though. The windscreens at least are not broken like they were before. Oh, but he's going to have another crash. Oh, and a huge one. He goes into the marshal post. John van der Geest has flipped the car upside down and will go back to the pits again. Will he bother to continue this time? Wow, that was very big. John van der Geest having the accident of the season so far, as a flash of yellow announces the arrival of Kirill Kirillov, and Philip Pichler is off the road. A spin for Pichler. Rejoins. And Julian Paus sets the fastest lap of all, 2:19.575, about a tenth faster than the previous fastest lap set by Kirill Kirilov. I told you they'd set their fastest laps later on in the race, because the tyres don't really wear, but the fuel gets lighter and lighter. Van der Geest has continued in the race again. Hopefully he can complete a lap this time. He's behind Julian Paus there. 2 laps down. Oh, he's hit the wall again! Come on, John! You can do it. Yeah, let's take a look at what Julian Paus is doing here in the Bizzarini, because he is absolutely flying as it stands. He's presumably just got into the rhythm of it now. There's a real rhythm you can find as a driver when you're going this quickly, and it's almost like an out-of-body experience sometimes, where the time begins to fly and you suddenly shake yourself and you're like, wow, I zoned out but I set 3 fastest laps, what's going on here? But yeah, Julian Paus on a little bit of a mission. Not that there's much reason to be, because unfortunately there won't be enough time for him to catch Kirill Kirilov unless the Ferrari driver makes a mistake. Then again, who's to say he won't? We've seen plenty of mistakes from plenty of experienced drivers so far in this race. And Julian Paus, if he's there and ready to capitalise on any mistakes that might happen, then that would be legitimate. But with only 6 minutes to go in the race, it is unlikely. Look how fast it is there. I don't have a speedometer, but he's easily got to be doing over 100 miles per hour through the trees there. His units on the speedo seem to be in kilometers per hour. He's broken 200 kilometers per hour though. That's very impressive. Getting towards 240. And I think Van der Geest had another off. Oh, he did! John is having big issues trying to finish this race now. Probably losing concentration. He's probably not very happy with himself at this point in time. And he's about to be lapped by Philip Pichler and... is that Maddie Shepherd? So Shepherd goes through. Shepherd also has to pass Philip Pichler. And Lons is in the pits! Something's happened to Lons. Did he not fuel the car well enough? Because we're less than 5 minutes from the end. Phil Brown goes through. Phil Brown, sorry, I don't know why I gave him a full-on Philip. But yeah, Laurent Lons is in the pits. And we weren't expecting scheduled pit stops today. There's a chance that he just didn't put enough fuel in the car. That could cost him. So Brown has gained 6th. He's a little way ahead. Well, he's behind Lagodin. Did he... well, he's dropped behind Mazurek too. I wonder whether he had an off on track and had to escape back to the pits. And is losing a lap in the process. Drama late on for Laurent Lons. Okay. Well, it might be... oh, and he's hit the wall too. It might not be until we finish this race that we're able to update you on the actual order of the cars. But trust the timing screen for how it stands right now. So as the field has spread out a little bit, let's take a look at some of the people we've seen less of in this race. Philip Pichler, Porsche 908/4, the smallest car in the field. Has easily the smallest engine as well, being just a 2-litre flat 6. Porsche do like their flat 6 engines, and Upham's off. Oh, and that's Laurent Lons, who was a lap down. I wonder if Lons had an incident and Upham went into him. Wouldn't be the first time Upham's had an incident like that, of course. He got caught up in someone else's accident in qualifying. But yeah, Laurent Lons was definitely off, and Paul Upham definitely got involved. That's put him just 3 seconds ahead of Phil Brown. Oh, and he's in the wall again. Possible damage there for Paul Upham. And Laurent Lons has now dropped behind Philip Pichler. And Mark Johnson. I wonder if the game just hasn't taken away his 1 lap just yet. So I think I think 11th place should be his official position for Laurent Blanc. And it was just updating as Pickler and Johnson were completing the sector that he may have been in. Johnson just ahead of John van der Geest, but they are of course officially on different laps at this point in time. Here is Mark Johnson, the only Jaguar E-Type here today. Of course, Kai Sivertsen had a Jaguar E-Type at the last race, but Kai Sivertsen is not here today for whatever reason. And that means there is only one Jaguar out there. Personally, I don't think the Jaguar is the car I'd go for. It's clearly the oldest. I'm personally surprised there aren't more people... Oh, and a mistake for John van der Geest. Touches the barriers again. I'm surprised no one's gone for the Porsche 911 Grouper R. There was a driver who had a Porsche 911 at the last race, but nobody here today. But that is one of the newest cars in the field, coming out in 1969 as opposed to Jaguar's 1963. And I mean, come on, it's a Porsche. Won the Tour de France with Gerard Larousse, and no, it didn't masquerade as a bicycle. The Tour de France used to be a race for sports cars. That was, of course, I mean, it didn't replace the Tour de France for bikes, but that came later. We're in the final minute of real time. And of course, when the clock ticks to 0, the lap that the leader is on will become the last lap of the race. Judging by where Kirill Kirilov is, I think this might be the last lap, actually. But let's watch someone else until that time. Here's Laurent Blanc, who lost a lap, having been off the road and having had to escape to the pits, just as John van der Geest has done twice. And as a result, they will be the drivers to miss out on a top 10 finish. Bit of a shame for Lons, he's definitely better than that. He was absolutely fantastic a good 4 or 5 years ago in the Grand Prix Legends Championship that we did on Sim Racing Online. We are now on the final lap with Kirill Kirilov. Let's ride on board with the Ferrari driver as he rounds the Bremgarten circuit for the 26th and last time. Where are we on the course? Let me see if I can work this out. I think we might be heading up to Jordan and Jordan Rampart. Should be left-handers. I think this is Jordan Rampart. And then is the next one a right-hander at IMAT? Looks quite different from on board, doesn't it? And Philip Pichler's in the pits. So an incident for Philip Pichler late on in the race. And that could give Laurent Blanc his top 10 back. Shame for Philip. But we continue to watch Kirill Kirilov, the main man as it stands. Powers has brought it back to within 10 seconds, but it's too little too late, surely. Through a right-hander, this is Vollenstrasse. No, it isn't. We're later in the lap than I thought we were. Down through Forsthaus. And we're nearly at the end of the lap for Kirill Kirilov, and thus the end of the race. He comes underneath the bunting. Towards the end of the lap, he'll go past the pit lane. And Kirill Kirilov will win in the Ferrari 275 GTB. It's 3 different winners in 3 races. Fantastic drive from Kirill Kirilov, and what a move that put him up into that victory place. Julian Powers is second and sets the fastest lap on the last lap, and he will get a bonus point for that. Matheus Estrella will be 3rd position to make it 2 Bizzarinis on the podium. Bizzarini very strong today indeed, but did not get the overall victory. There is our pole sitter, Matheus Estrella. It's a story of what might have been, but a good recovery drive considering he was down as far as 7th position at one point. Championship leader Maddie Shepherd will come through in 4th position. I'm unsure as to whether she will keep the championship lead or not. We will have to wait for the the official results, I have a feeling Julian Paus might take the championship lead, but it'll be close between him, Shepherd and Estrella. Paul Upham is going to be 5th for Ferrari, just over a minute and 15 seconds back, about a minute and 19 seconds back from the overall winner. Here comes Upham in the other Ferrari. Thank you to Roman Labro, who says, GG all, impressive, in the YouTube chat. Yes, indeed, it was very impressive, especially from Kirill Kirillov. And he also says, amazing cast. Thank you very much. I very much enjoyed this broadcast, as I always do. Phil Brown was 6th in the AC Cobra. Stefan Lagodin will be 7th in the other AC Cobra. Comes underneath the bunting himself, almost like it's celebrating his way to the line. He'll be about a minute and 47 seconds back. And the final car to finish on the lead lap will be Michal Mazurek in the tomato red Corvette. And there he goes. The other finishers were Johnson Lons. Philip Pichler is yet to finish. He's a lap down and has just had another spin, I think. Come on, Philip, you can do it. He will be 11th. And then John van der Geest finished in 12th position. And then we had the unfortunate disconnections of Jari Lakkinen and Kimi Martikainen. Lakkinen would probably, almost definitely, have been on the podium at the end. And then Mariusz Lebioda, of course, crashed out earlier on, going for a little trip in the forest, which I hope he enjoyed. There is Philip Pichler crossing the line and hitting the wall for good measure, which unfortunately pretty much sums up the day for the Porsche driver. Thank you all very much for tuning in and for watching. Thank you to the drivers for putting on a good show. Thank you, of course, to Sim Racing Online for organising this event and for allowing me to broadcast it. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time. And the circuit will be the fantastic Clermont-Ferrand in France. So we're back to France again for the second time this season. That will be round 4 of 6, so it's getting real. We're in the second half of the championship now, and I would not want to miss that. Thank you all once again for watching, and goodbye.